They've won Tonys and Oscars and Emmys and Grammys. There's no red carpet because they're home in their jammies. From Melrose Place to Broadway to Janeway and her crew. Let Seth and James bring all the stars to you.
Anywho.
They're entertaining everyone, so who's gonna grouse? Just sit right back and you'll hear some tales on Stars in the House.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Stars in the House.
Y'all.
I'm James Wesley.
I'm Seth Rudetsky. Our dog is getting settled.
And Mandy Rudetsky is down there. Yes, Mandy took Seth's last name.
Sorry.
I refused to take it. Though we were talking about that the other day of like, maybe we need to hype. Why did we have that discussion?
Yeah, why did I guess because Julie is Julie Rudetsky Wesley. And I was like,
right. Our daughter is 21 and she goes by Julie. Well, goes by her legal name now that Seth adopted her is Julie Rudetsky Wesley. And you were like, maybe we need to do that.
Yeah, you got to become James Rudetsky. Anywho,
forget it.
Audience laugh.
Yeah. Oh, we don't have our banner at the bottom. Tell everyone why we are here, Seth, while I get this going.
We are a live stream, but we are also a fundraiser. And we began in March 2020 when everything shut down artistically because we knew the arts were going to suffer. So we've been raising money for the Actors Fund ever since then, which is for anybody in the arts. So yes, of course, all the fun, fabulous performers, but also everybody backstage, everybody front of house, everybody under the stage. So stage managers, ushers, musicians, everybody TV and film, not just in front of the camera, but directors, ADs, tech directors, catering, anyone that works.
Any professional in the arts anywhere in the United States can get help from the Actors Fund. In fact, if you need help, go to actorsfund.org. And not only do they give financial assistance, but they also have amazing workshops.
Yeah, like they'll help you. By the way, a really super famous star we were talking to today lost her health insurance because work has been so scarce.
Right.
So they'll help you get health insurance. And if you know anybody in the arts, just suggest it. Just say PS, not even if they're struggling, but just say, go visit the actorsfund.org. You have no idea the kind of stuff you can find there.
Absolutely. But if you're able to give, because we are up to...
We're so close. We really want to get even closer to a certain number.
That's right.
Since March 2020, we've raised
$1,086,300 for the Actors Fund.
So we are less than $14,000 away from 1.1 million.
So if you're able to donate, go to starsinthehouse.com. And if you want one of our amazing guests tonight to read, you can forward that to donations at starsinthehouse.com along with a message, because we are here celebrating National Arts and Humanities Month. And we've got a lot of wonderful guests here to explain what that is. But before we get to our first guest, Seth,
Dr. LaPook coming?
Dr. LaPook will be here, the chief medical correspondent of CBS News and Stars in the House will be here midway through the show. But Seth, you have a little bit of an announcement for your show, for Seth's Broadway Breakdown. You want to tell everyone what it is?
Oh, sure, James. In my pre-interview, we discussed this. I have a show playing off Broadway. Seth's Broadway Breakdown. It plays Friday, Saturday nights, Sunday matinees, and I just got extended to the end of November. So if you're in New York, you can come see it. And on top of that, we added one special show. It's going to be Friday night, 11 p.m., sort of like an industry insider show, and all tickets are $20 for that one. But just go to...
and that's Thanksgiving weekend when a lot of people are come to New York to see shows. You're going to have a late show. So if you're visiting New York for Thanksgiving weekend...
And you're seeing a lot of Broadway shows.
You can see a Broadway show and then go to Seth's show.
You can see mine late. It'll keep you awake.
Right.
So it's just go to Asylum NYC for tickets, or just, Google me.
And one more shameless plug,
yes,
because we don't get paid for this show. So we have to make money somehow in our house.
Point.
And that is the Seth concert series. Erica Henningsen. I don't have I should have put the picture up, Seth. But Erica Henningsen from Mean Girls and Kate Rockwell were at our apartment last night. COVID safe, everyone vaccinated, and we did rapid antigen tests right before. But it was a great concert. Erica and Kate are just they're just, I love them partly because, of course, they're dog people and animal lovers, but also they are just enormously talented and very nice. And by the way, Shoshana, speaking of enormously talented, is coming up this Sunday, Shoshana Bean. And Shoshana is going to be here not only Sunday, but she's going to be here on Stars in the House, because tomorrow we are doing a Halloween game night. That was Jen Wace's idea. And tell everyone who we have, Seth, before we bring
So we
our
have
first guest.
Shoshana Bean. Shoshana Bean's concert with me this Sunday is on Halloween because she was a witch in Wicked. So that's why I themed it for Halloween. So tomorrow it's, scary Halloween game night. So it's Shoshana Bean from Wicked. It is also Julia Murney from Wicked. It is also Krista Rodriguez from the Addams Family. She was Wednesday Addams. It is also Presley Ryan from Beetlejuice, who was the daughter obsessed with death. And it is also Donalyn Champlin from Sweeney Todd, who has her throat because she played Pirelli in that.
And hopefully they're all going to send pictures that we can show of them in costume in those
scariness.
shows. Yes. So with that in mind, that's what's coming up tomorrow. But first, our first guest, like I said, we have quite a few guests to explain, well, as if you need to be explained why the arts are so important. But I feel like we all need to be reminded of that, because it's very easy, I think, especially with so much going on in the world, and then you add the pandemic on top of that. It's easy, I think, for the arts to get lost in all of that. So that is why we are doing today's show. In addition,
Jen reminded me, and the scary Phantom tomorrow night as well.
Oh,
as well as playing Lestat, the scary vampire. Hugh Panera is going to be here, so he's been in two terrifying musicals, Lestat.
That's right,
and Phantom. Thank you, Jen.
So we are here. We're going to introduce right now. Let me take this off. Hold on, because our first guest is the Chief of Staff at the National Endowment for the Arts. I want to make
the arts, isn't it?
National Endowment of the Arts. What did I say?
For the arts.
For the arts of the arts. Thank you. No. It didn't change. It didn't change. No. But I want to just make sure that the National Endowment for the Arts. Oh, that's what it was. I made the mistake. You know what's funny? We're going to ask Raw Joy that, because that came directly from them to say that they do not endorse any non-federal fundraising efforts. So right now, why don't we just have the man himself, the Chief of Staff,
don't endorse
come out here. That's right. Okay. Mr. Raw Joy.
Hello there.
Hi, Raw. All right. National Endowment of the Arts and National Endowment for the Arts.
That probably came from our legal shop, so I know it's right. It's the National Endowment for the Arts.
There you go.
Since when? Today?
I love that this is why we're doing this. This is one of the many reasons, Rob, why we're doing this.
Shocked.
It's great to be in. It's great to be in the house, and thank you for shining a light on the impact that the pandemic has had on artists and the theater community.
Absolutely.
It's been brutal, man.
Explain for people who don't know. Of course, that's the reason why we get it, National Endowment of the Arts, National Endowment for the Arts, is because we know it commonly as the NEA. So, Ra, explain for people who don't know what the NEA is, what it is, and why it's important.
Yeah, the National Endowment for the Arts is the independent federal agency that works to provide all Americans with diverse opportunities to experience and participate in the arts. It was established by Congress in 1965. It's the only funding entity, public or private, that works to support arts access in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and all jurisdictions. In terms of why the arts are important, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir on this show, but as you know, culture and the arts, our theaters, our museums, our dance companies, our symphonies, our artists are one of our nation's most valuable assets. And art, in its many forms, helps us better understand ourselves and the changing world around us. And it's essential that, especially in this time of great consequence for our country, when we all need what art brings us, that we work to support our nation's cultural infrastructure.
How does someone become Chief of Staff at the NEA? Like, what was your path? I'm so curious.
What was your audition like?
That's good. Well, let me say I'm from a family of artists. My father was a graphic artist. My earliest memories, not of the arts, but my earliest memories, period, are of my father creating works of art with his bare hands. And I always wanted to replicate that, and every chance I had, I would try to create or sketch something out on the back of an envelope. I'm an artist, but my background is in public policy and public engagement. In a prior life, I had the honor of serving as executive director of a statewide arts advocacy group in Illinois. And actually what had a big influence on my career was the theater scene in Chicago. You know, block for block, Chicago is one of the most vibrant cities in the world for live theater. And I had a board chair who was the executive director of Steppenwolf Theater. And so in many ways, I kind of grew up professionally in the arts, and in particular in the theater community in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
My role with the Arts Endowment is a great way to merge my lifelong love for the arts and my passion for public policy and public engagement.
So tell everyone, what is National Arts and Humanities Month?
Yeah, so celebrated annually in October, National Arts and Humanities Month is a nationwide recognition of the important role that culture plays in our lives and in the life of our communities and our nation. President Biden, as you may know, issued a proclamation on day one of Arts and Humanities Month in October. He really emphasized the role that the arts and humanities play in uniting the nation and providing a sense of community when we need it most. At the Arts Endowment, we've been pleased to collaborate with our sister agencies, the other cultural agencies. So we've kind of locked arms with the National Endowment for the Humanities, as well as the Institute for Museums and Library Services, to really focus on the role that the arts and humanities can play as we work to build back better and climb out from under COVID-19. And so all throughout the month, we've been emphasizing key themes, rebuilding the creative economy, the role of culture in uniting and healing the nation, the importance of advancing equity, opportunity, and justice in the arts, as well as shining a spotlight on the arts in our nation's classrooms and in our military communities. So it's a great way, as you mentioned in your setup at the start of the program, to lift up the essential role that the arts play in our country.
Go ahead, Seth.
I guess I'm just curious, when you mentioned that, what does the NEA do with classrooms? Because I feel when I was a kid, there was so much art in school and so many, it was just normal. Everybody did the arts, whether you were going to go into it or not. And now I just feel it's so barren. How is the NEA reaching out to schools with the arts?
Well, when you think about the world that we live in, or the workforce of the 21st century, there's no greater skill or attribute we can arm our young people with than a creative mind. And it's hard to expect young people to be creative problem solvers without first exposing them to creativity. The Arts Endowment has a robust arts education portfolio that's really focused on students, teachers, and systems. We also work collaboratively across the government. So we work arm in arm with the U.S. Department of Education to support an initiative called the Arts Education Partnership, which is a national initiative to lift up arts education policies and practices, and to ensure that all K through 12 students in the country have access to the arts as part of a well-rounded education.
That's really wonderful. And do you actually go like pay surprise visits to some of the places that you give grants to, and like be like, this is the show that we helped pay for?
We're climbing out from COVID. And actually, when I got my vaccine shot, I thought about theater. Like, I thought about getting back inside the theater and sitting in the back of the theater and watching people take in good theater and breathe and exhale at the same time. We are getting out and about, and hopefully I'll be coming to a theater near you. But we support cultural organizations all across the country and in all 435 congressional districts. And so, that's really a signal of community, is getting people up off of their couch, away from their screens, and together for shared experience. And that's something that culture and the arts provides our country.
In fact, we're going to have one of the many NEA grant recipients on the program a little bit later to demonstrate the good that you do. Tell us, what are you looking forward to over the next couple of years? I know that there's been a couple of exciting announcements. Can you share those with people in case they didn't hear earlier this month?
I would say two things. One is kind of the theme of your program. One of our most important jobs right now is to aid in the recovery of the arts and cultural sector. And so we're working hard to rebuild the creative economy, to help cultural organizations rehire and reopen. That's kind of job number one for the next few months. As part of National Arts and Humanities Month, I think on day 5, President Biden announced his intention to nominate Dr. Maria Rosario Jackson to become the next chair of the Arts Endowment. Dr. Jackson has a distinguished life and career in the arts, in systems change, and in comprehensive community development. She's served on the National Council on the Arts since 2013. We're really excited about the nomination process. You can read more about Dr. Jackson on our website at arts.gov.
Great. Well, we look forward to
Wow.
her being on the show at some point after she
Yes.
gets confirmation. And Rod, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us and our audience.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Take
Rob.
good care.
All right. Bye, Rod. Have a good night. Okay. So next, Seth, speaking of, I don't even know if you knew is there a question?
No, it's the same thing from Jen Ways because I didn't push. It's fine. I didn't push it.
Give me that phone. You're done with Jen Ways. Do you know your segue into the arts bill is actually perfect for our next guest?
I segue into the arts.
Well, you were talking about arts education, and our next guest, actually has a bill that has been introduced. So please welcome 2 stars in the House, Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here, Seth and James.
Hi,
Hello,
welcome.
You're a Congress. He understands government more, so you're a congresswoman. That means you represent a state or like a
I
district.
represent a portion of a state, 1/5 of the state of Oregon. We have 5 representatives, soon to be 6 in the state of Oregon.
I like Oregon. I've been there, right? I've been to Bend. I did a show in Bend.
Yeah, that's in Central Oregon. It's very nice.
Yeah, but try to get to the airport. It was like no joke. That was the one show that I did.
Yeah.
They no joke. I did a show. It ended at 10:30, and they picked me up at the airport at 1 a.m. to get a morning flight. So no, thank you.
Well, come back anytime. We welcome you.
Thank you. It was beautiful there.
It is. It is indeed.
So, Congresswoman, why? I know that you know that the arts are important in education, but why is it so important to you? Because there's so many things that need that organizations and people that need help in this country. Why is
this your cause célèbre?
Yeah, why is that one of your causes?
That's a great question. And I could just say, well, what Rod Joy said in terms of the importance of the arts as part of well-rounded education. But like Rod, I grew up in an artistic family. My mom was a piano teacher and a painter, and art and music were really part of my life. And then when I had kids and my kids started going to school, I was one of those parents who was up at the school saying, where's the band? Where's the choir? Why don't we have more fine arts? Where's the theater program?
Shocking.
And so, because I saw what a difference it made, and, it really is about equity, because some schools, usually the schools in the wealthier areas, will have the arts. And if they don't, the parents will be able to provide them.
Right.
And so the Arts Education for All bill, with emphasis on the all, is to really help close that equity gap and provide arts education as part of well-rounded education, starting young in early learning, and then in the K-12 system, and then for young adults in the juvenile justice system. And so it really does make a difference. And I've seen it in the schools. I serve on the Education Labor Committee. And before I got to Congress, I was in the state legislature. And before that, I was one of those very involved parent volunteers who was trying to fill those gaps. And you said that art used to be in schools. What happened? And I can tell you part of it is because of budget, but part of it is also because of an old federal law called No Child Left Behind that put too much emphasis on the classes that were tested. And because arts was not one of those topics, one of those subjects, it was oftentimes the first to go. And it's so short-sighted, because I have seen in the classrooms I visited, in the schools that make arts a priority, what a difference it makes. So I'm very excited about the Arts Education for All bill. We had our big kickoff, and we had some great people speaking in favor. And I do want to note, because you talked about Shoshana Bean, that one of the, you know where she's from, right?
She's from Oregon.
From Oregon. So one of the speakers we had at our event, our big kickoff, is Brooks Ashbaskas, who is also from Oregon.
I was his understudy on Broadway. I don't know he was from Oregon.
Yes, he's from Oregon. And so he was part of our kickoff. And he talked about, and I've known Brooks's family for a long time. So he talked about how his experience going to high school, to Beaverton High School, which is down the road from my office in Oregon, what a difference it made that somebody said to him, oh, you can sing. Oh, you should be at this production. And he said the word he was emphasizing when he spoke was confidence. It gave him confidence to go on. And as you know, have a successful career with 14 Broadway shows, including the amazing role as Barry in The Prom. And so I want to also note that Shoshana Bean also went to Beaverton High School. Her mother is a dance teacher at the Beaverton Arts and Communication Magnet Academy. So I don't think it's coincidence that districts and schools that focus on the arts
that's right.
really make a difference in people's lives.
And it helps, and it does. It also helps people academically. It's like whether it's just, and also motivation. It's like our daughter is dyslexic, and it's like we so wish that she grew up in New York City public schools, but you were right. The arts cut. And so anything that was done basically was stuff that we did. Seth did a big fundraiser for the school.
Plus, I volunteered as a chorus teacher for a whole year. There was no chorus. So I volunteered. It was so I couldn't believe we had chorus, chorale, special chorus. We had literally 4 different choruses in my basically wealthy Long Island area.
But my point is that if they had a well-rounded arts program, she would have been more motivated to have gone to school because of her dyslexia. There's so many people who have that issue.
Yeah.
And there are many students who they thrive. I went to a program, to a school where they had a program there called Wind and Oar, and they build boats, which is really a creative task. And the students build boats, and the student said, I'm here because of this project.
Right.
And they're making this beautiful creation, and then they're there at school. And so it really does make a difference for students and gives them that confidence. And it doesn't matter if they're going on to be successful in the arts like Shoshana and Brooks, or going on to some other career.
Right.
The students from the Beaverton Arts and Communication Magnet Academy, where they have arts infused curriculum, they go on to do amazing things. Even if they're not directly in the arts, they're more creative and collaborative and have new ways to look at things. And that is another point that I want to make, is that how short-sighted it is to cut the arts when our economy thrives on people who are creative and innovative and collaborate, and it gives these students a way to express their own individuality and creativity, which is going to lead them to success regardless of what path they take.
Absolutely. So Congresswoman, what is the bill, and how can people that are watching help make it happen? Because I think it's really, I didn't know about this arts bill, and I was so thrilled when I found out. You know, because all you hear is the reconciliation bill. You hear about, all this and that. You don't hear about this sort of thing. So what can people do to help make it a reality?
Right. Well, the Build Back Better is very important, and so is the infrastructure bill.
I know.
But so is arts education for all.
Exactly.
So what the bill does, it reinforces the importance of the arts in those settings, early childhood, before and after school programs, those extended learning opportunities, K-12. I mentioned the youth and adults in the justice system. And it really makes clear there's a lot of funding that goes to schools for those different levels, and it clarifies all of this funding can be used for the art, or not all, but this funding can be used for the arts, and research shows that students are going to be more successful. So it is really putting that emphasis on it, but I really want to drive home the equity piece to make sure that we're closing those equity gaps, because not everybody has an artistic family, not everybody has resources.
Right.
I want to tell you, one of the students who spoke at our kickoff, Maite, her family, the pandemic has affected different communities in different ways. Certainly people in performing arts, one of the first industries to close down. But our people of color, our Latinx communities have been disproportionately hit. Maite's family, they lost family members to COVID. And Maite is a student in high school, and she plays the piano. And she's been working with a program called Play It Forward. And she's been playing the piano, and she and her father and her family explained why it made such a difference for her. It was very healing. It was healing for her. It was healing for her siblings and her family. And now she's very excited about the arts because she started playing the piano. And so to give that opportunity to everyone, to have the ability to learn, the ability to be creative and show some individuality, which, in schools that are just focused on test scores, everybody's on the same page all the time. That's not the real world. But to have students like Maite be able to be enthusiastic about the arts and arts education from a family that was really hard hit shows you the healing power of the arts as well. So people can go. Americans for the Arts has been helping really draw attention to the bill.
And in fact, sorry to interrupt you, but we have Lauren Cohen here from Americans for the Arts who can actually explain where people can go, among other things. So 1, 2, 3, Lauren.
Hi, Lauren. How are you?
Hi there.
Yeah, we've had a couple hundred individuals and organizations sign on in support already, and it's a fairly new bill. So I'm looking forward to building that support, because what a difference it makes.
Absolutely. It really does. I think at last count, we had over 300 organizations who have endorsed the Arts Education for All bill before it was even introduced, which is, the biggest number of organizations to ever endorse a bill for the arts before introduction. So that's, really a testament to you, Congresswoman, for your leadership. Thank you so much for that, and for continuing to push for this kind of legislation.
Happy to.
It's so nonpartisan, and also besides thriving like you were talking about, it's a way to connect with other students in a non-competitive, fun way. It's like being in the ensemble of a show is so fun, and it just helps you be creative and have friends instead of be running on a sports team or just be studying. I mean, it's just community building.
Exactly, and bringing students together, allowing you think. Sports are teams. So is being in a theater production, as you know. It's all about teamwork and responsibility. And those are great skills for students to learn. And it brings people together and helps us find new ways to communicate. And we need that. So,
So Lauren, can you tell people where they can go for on the Americans for the Arts website?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a really easy way that people can take action here. I think the best way that folks across the country can get on board with this legislation is to get their members of Congress to sign on as a co-sponsor. If you are a constituent of Representative Bonamici, man, you have an advocate in Congress that, she has received our 2016 Congressional Arts Leadership Award. She would get it every year if we could give it to her every single year. But if you're not her constituent, you can ask your member of Congress to take action and co-sponsor this very important legislation. You can ask them if you know them personally, you can ask them to co-sponsor this Arts Education for All bill, HR 5581, or you can go to artsactionfund.org. You'll see that website right there on the screen. You can click the arrow right beside ACT, and then go to the Arts Action Center. There's a really easy link. All you need to do is a couple of clicks, put in your address, and it will identify who your member of Congress is, and you can send them an email really easily and tell them why this legislation would matter to you, would matter to your community. And so that's the best way to get your members of Congress to get on board. There's already 20 co-sponsors of this legislation. I mean, it was only introduced, 10 days ago, Congresswoman, and you've already got 20 co-sponsors from 16 states and the District of Columbia. I mean, this legislation really is getting some great traction, and the best way to do that is to get more folks to talk to their members of Congress, tell those authentic stories about why arts education matters, why it matters to your community, to yourself, to your kids, to your friends' kids, whoever it is, because that's really what's going to turn the dime here.
Congresswoman, let me ask you, because my major in college was political science, and I was either going to go in the arts or politics, and I chose the arts.
There's a lot of similarities.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there is. But let me just ask you a practical question, because of course I'm impressed, Lauren, with the number of of co-sponsors that you have so far, but on a practical level, again, because there are so many issues and the arts education is so important to us, does it make a difference if you have 150 co-sponsors or 175 versus 50 or 75? I know that may be like a really obvious question, but I have a point, which is, will it make a difference if everyone gets their representative in Congress to be a co-sponsor? Will the chances go up that it will actually pass?
It shows broad support. And, we're a bicameral chamber. I'm already in conversations with some senators to make sure we have a Senate companion. But yes, it does make a difference because it shows broad support. And one of the things too that I want to mention or repeat is that this is good for the economy as well. It's good for students. It's good for their learning, but it's also good for our future because we have an economy that's ever changing, and critical, creative thinkers are going to help us solve the problems. We have some pretty big problems facing.
Yeah.
Climate change, equity issues, racism. I mean, it takes creative minds to solve those problems. And so it's good for students, good for education, good for communities, and also really good for the economy and our future. And telling stories, as Lauren said, telling stories matters. When we're talking about it in the abstract, it's not nearly as the same as saying this is what made a difference. And that's why my taste story, Brooks's story that he told in the kickoff. Josh Groban did a great little video too, and we've done events with him because he talked about the importance of arts education, telling the stories about what a difference it made in people's lives to have arts education.
Absolutely.
I guess my question is, so this bill is basically saying there's going to be arts education across the board in all schools starting at a very young age, and it's going to be kind of equal with all schools, no matter what the income level is of the school.
That is the plan, to level out those the opportunities so that it isn't just some kids getting arts education. It really is for all, and that's the for all in the legislation, and clarifying that funding that's coming to schools for early learning programs, for extra school activities and after school activities. The K-12, it's called the Every Student Succeeds Act, which I had a big part in getting rid of No Child Left Behind and putting more focus on well-rounded education that includes the arts in that legislation. And then I will fight, as well as my co-sponsor, Shelley Pingree from Maine, for the other Portland, for funding going forward. But there are already existing funding streams, and we'll keep fighting for more to make sure professional development as well for arts educators and for all educators to talk about arts integration. Arts can be integrated into a lot of curriculum.
I used to love that when it was like, we're writing up a paper on this, but we're doing it by acting out what really happened. I love when they integrate stuff.
It's great. I had a former chair of the National Endowment for the Arts visit out in Oregon a few years ago. And she was visiting a STEAM school. STEM is science, technology, engineering, math. So STEAM is you incorporate and integrate the arts. Okay. And there are two students, girls in 6th grade, which is fairly young to get up and stand in front of a group of grownups, including the chair of the National Endowment for the Arts and their Congresswoman. And they told us about how they made a stop motion animation film to explain cell division. So in addition to understanding cell division, they made a film about it, and they could narrate that film and explain it. So it just shows you what a benefit it is for students to have arts education.
And I'll also note that Congresswoman Bonamici is the founding co-chair of the STEAM caucus in Congress. So she is practicing what she's preaching right here.
I'm on the science committee too, so it's really important. I talk about arts in science committee too.
So everyone watching, you go to americansforthearts.org, or you can go to, and there's a lot of amazing programs. This is just a tip of the iceberg of what Americans for the Arts does. And there's also, but you can go to artsactionfund.org, and from there you'll go to ACT. You'll see that, and you'll go to Arts Action Center, and it will tell you, as Lauren said, who your congressperson is if you don't know who he or she is, and then call their office, tell them your story, and tell them to co-sponsor HR 5581 so we can get this done.
Nonpartisan.
Congresswoman and Lauren, thank you so much for coming on Stars in the House today.
Thank you. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We really believe in what you're doing. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. I believe in what you're doing too.
Thank you. How cool to meet a
I
Congresswoman.
love how you're gonna now you can incorporate that in your show with Shoshana.
I know she's an Oregon lady and
Sunday.
she
I
supports
love
the
it.
arts.
I love that so much. That was an unexpected. Wait a minute. What else did you learn? Anything else? What did you learn about
that Brooks is from?
Brooks? You didn't know that?
No, not at all. I was told he was from Rhode Island.
That's so funny. I love it. Well, let's.
Speaking of science, which we were also talking about.
That's right. Please welcome to Stars in the House, Dr. Jon LaPook.
Hi guys.
Hi, John.
Wow.
What did you were you in chorus? And I know about in college in your group, but what about when you were in elementary school? What did the arts in the schools mean to you?
Oh, I loved it. I loved being in chorus, and I loved. I wasn't in productions. I wasn't in any, and I really wasn't.
Really?
Why not?
When I was in production. When I got to college, I was in a singing group, the Society of Orpheus and Bacchus, the SOBs, and and it was great. And
that's Yale humor. Yale humor.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, that's what it was. It was 1930, and I was the second oldest group after the Whiffenpoofs, which, and by the way, our opening song was the Norwegian national anthem for some reason, and it started, Ja, vi älskar det till landet som det stiger fram, för ett verbet övervandet med i tusentjam. Right? So we're singing this, and twice a year, somebody from the back would come in, and we'd no, we don't speak Norwegian. That's it. That's all our Norwegian. Sorry for you people who speak Norwegian for that very bad fake Norwegian. But that's what it sounded like to us. But anyway, and then when I got to medical school, though, because they knew some of them had seen me sing in college.
Yeah, musical chops.
They went there. So then they recruited me. So I was in Guys and Dolls. I was in Fugue for Tin Horn. I forget which which we then reprised with you. And then I was in Girl Crazy. Was that right?
Yeah. Gershwin.
Anyway, Damn Yankees. They would just bring me in to sing a little song, but I never did any acting or anything like that.
So, Dr. LaPook, it seems like there's just there's always something going on, and to me, it's like it's the two headlines that I see since we've seen you last are one. Are the vaccines for kids are getting really, really close?
Yeah.
And number two, what the hell is going on in England?
Delta Plus.
Yeah. So Rochelle Walensky, who I'm actually going to be interviewing on November 1st for an event at NYU.
Monday.
But yeah, so she said yesterday, that there are some mutations in there that in the spike protein, but it seems like the vaccines still work.
Oh, okay.
So yes,
it's
being watched. And of course, with all these mutations, we've talked about it before, the quicker we can get people immunized, the quicker that we can stop this from multiplying within people. And it's when it's multiplying within people that the mutations happen. That's why getting people vaccinated quickly is important.
But why is there not just a mask mandate across the country? The reason there are mutations is because people are not wearing masks. I don't understand why it's like a game and people are like, shrug. Why is it not just a mask mandate?
Sigh. We've talked about this. It doesn't seem like that big of an ask, but it's it obviously, I'm not saying anything too profound. It's been politicized, so it's become a different issue. It's a matter of freedom. Don't tell me what to do. But big picture, where's the big picture that they had in World War II? As we've said, as my father was being bombed in the foxholes in Germany and France, in order to maintain freedom and safety for a kid under the age of 12 who now can't get vaccinated, or an older person, or an immunocompromised. I have to tell you my father's story. May he rest in peace. He was getting bombed he was in France. He was in a foxhole. He was being bombed, and he woke up in a cold sweat because he dreamt that he was taking the dental boards. And he looked in the bombs, and he goes, "Thank God. It was only a dream."
That's hilarious.
Right? True story. True story.
That
That's
lighten it
funny.
up. So the point is, I guess what I'm just scared about is that they're just keeping development and you keep going. At this point, it looks like the vaccine will work against this
Right.
mutation. And it's like, when is it going to finally go, oh, it turns out the vaccine won't work? Like, what are we waiting for? It's bizarre to me.
I know, it's when they do studies of people not reacting correctly in emergencies, one of the factors is that they don't declare it an emergency. It's hard to yell fire, right, in a theater. And I think not enough people have really still at this point declared it an emergency.
Right.
And it's invisible, and you can't, you can't smell it. And in fact, if you get COVID, you also can't smell it.
Right.
So the real problem that I'm worried about, because I think the fourth wave is going down. I think we're getting there. I'm doing a talk tomorrow, participating in a talk about health inequity and about how communities of color haven't gotten the same amount of vaccinations. They've done obviously worse in terms of mortality. I was encouraged to see that they're creeping up so that they're doing better. They're not quite up to the level of white communities, but Black, and they say in the Kaiser graph Hispanic, but whether we call it Latinx or Latine, they're getting closer, that was encouraging to me. So I think we're slowly getting there here. What really worries me, you've heard me say it a million times, is the rest of the world. We're still not immunizing the rest of the world quickly enough, and we're all in this together. So that's the health inequity piece we have it here, but we really have it in Africa, in other places across the country.
And the final thing is, what do you think about the boosters mixing and matching one from column A? What do you think about that?
Yeah, and again, I thought Rochelle Walensky gave this some clarity. Everybody's, they were joking on Saturday Night Live. They said, they're throwing up their hands and they're saying whatever. They're not doing that. The recommendation is that the booster, everybody should get a booster if they're at 6 months. If you're messenger RNA and you're in a certain category. We've all seen the categories. If you're in a Johnson & Johnson, at least 2 months. And what Rochelle Walensky said about the J&J was that the messenger RNA vaccines give a nice antibody response. On the other hand, the Johnson & Johnson gives a good clinical response. That's what they've published, that it's very protective. So remember the difference in antibodies, saying, okay, your antibodies are high, but we're not quite sure how that relates to protection. We think it relates to protection. And then a study showing you're, over 90% protected. So that we have an abundance of good vaccines. In terms of the messenger RNA vaccines, I think, the second dose of Moderna is half the dose of the original. If you look at this study where they did mixing and matching, it looked like if you took Moderna and then Moderna, or if you took Pfizer and then Moderna, that your antibody levels were a little higher. But if you that's with 100 micrograms of Moderna as the booster. But now if you have 50 micrograms of Moderna as the booster, I'm not sure whether it's really whether really there's a big difference between the Pfizer and the Moderna. So I think if you have taken the Pfizer or you've taken the Moderna, you are going to be fine with either one as the second dose. I don't think people should sweat that. If you want to the easiest thing is to keep with what you've had before. I think you'll be perfectly fine, especially if you're worried about a different kind of side effect. You've already had 2 doses. You did well with that. You can get the third. But we could have long discussions about the theory of how you should mix and match. But I don't think people should get derailed by that. So
good.
Well, tomorrow we're doing our Halloween game night, and I saw was it today that the CDC was basically encouraging people it's okay to go trick or treating. Is that right? I don't know. Are you going to be here with us tomorrow?
I will be there with you tomorrow.
Maybe we can talk about trick or treating tomorrow.
We can talk about trick or treating, and I also want to show today. I am so excited because on CBS Mornings today, there is Warhorse, the play with
of course,
amazing puppeteers. Well, they created a 9-foot-high little girl named Amal, little Amal, Amal, who is a refugee girl who is looking for her mother. And for the last couple of months, she started in Turkey. She went through Greece and all over Europe and Switzerland and France, and now is in England. And she met the Pope, and it's so moving. And CBS Mornings did a piece. Liz Palmer, the fabulous Liz Palmer, did a piece this morning. I asked David to grab it and show it tomorrow.
Oh, great.
Oh, good.
I literally started crying when I was watching it. It's so beautiful, and these choruses and these little faces who see this puppet, but it's a little girl. And they're empathizing, and it's beautiful. And they talk to a woman who was one of the lucky ones who made it actually as a refugee, and she made it to England. Anyway, it's just
we'll watch it
good story, but it's a really important. We're forgetting about the 20 million. I think that was the number refugees. Half of them kids. So that's not. It's a serious topic, but it's a beautiful piece.
All right, Dr. LaPook. We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
All right, bye. Okay. We talked earlier about the NEA and the many recipients across the country, in every congressional district, and one of those recipients is here. He is. Let me make sure I get my glasses. Robbie Henson is the managing director of Voices Inside, and to tell us about Voices Inside, Robbie Henson.
Hey,
Robbie.
Seth and James. It's so good to be here with you all this evening. I'm
Hi, Robbie.
sitting in my cabin in Kentucky, sort of out in the middle of the wild country.
What kind of scary animals do you have around?
Well, we have deer. We have wild turkeys. They sort of make a liquor called wild turkey, and there actually are wild turkeys that sort of run through our woods.
And he has his wife.
My wife is in the background.
I heard that, Mrs. Henson. Okay.
So, Robbie, tell us about Voices Inside.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and it was really wonderful to hear from Rojoy, who does what he does for the NEA. We run an NEA-sponsored prison outreach program that teaches writing and performance classes to those locked away behind bars. We use theater arts to promote communication, to boost self-esteem, and to promote empathy in a way that lets those that are incarcerated feel like they're not just closed off, but they are part of the larger human connection to humanity.
Robbie, when we talked a little bit before the show, you said that you've been receiving grants for quite a while. How long? How many years?
I think the NEA has been behind us for about 12 years. And then we have the Nathan Cummings Foundation supporting us, and a few other foundations. Yes.
And what was it like? What was an example of a program before COVID, and how you have adapted now?
There were quite a few hurdles when COVID shut down the prisons. And, our program really had a strong outreach into the incarcerated community in Kentucky, where we're centered. And those were in-person classes. And then all of a sudden COVID comes along, and all volunteers and all of our staff are not able to go behind the razor wire. So we kind of did a couple of things. We really set up the opportunity to do email mentoring. So we're constantly in touch with those in our classes, and we're promoting opportunities for them to send their plays to play contests. And, they send us plays, and, we give feedback on their plays through kind of an email mentoring concept. Also, we decided to boost our New York City Incarcerated Play Festival. And that's going to go on in the end of February, possibly March, at Theater Lab, which is kind of above Chelsea. I think it's West 36th Street. Wow. And we will have full productions of like 6 incarcerated short plays that will go on for, a long weekend in the end of February or March at Theater Lab, produced by Lanny Zipoy, who, is a theater producer in New York City. And so we boosted that to kind of, to have an opportunity for those that are closed off during COVID. Maybe our play festival opportunity can kind of ramp up and be bigger. And what else are we doing?
Well, you know what, Robbie, you sent some pictures. Seth, you want to put them up?
Yeah.
And I literally just uploaded them, Robbie, and have not seen them. So maybe we put up a few and you tell us what they are.
This was one of our in-person classes pre-COVID, and we're being monitored by kind of the shadowy CO there.
Yes.
And, that's one of our classes. Our classes, we teach writing, and then once they write a play, we hand it out, and we hand out copies, and they give voice to it. So they get kind of a performance skill, and it's kind of a writing workshop for incarcerated writers where they write, they do a first draft and we voice it. They do a second draft and we voice it. It really allows them to polish their play. And that's what you just saw in that picture.
And what's this?
This is one of our volunteers in a session at North Point, which is a medium security prison in central Kentucky. And, that's probably a little bit like the cameraman said, give us a positive expression.
What's this?
This was before COVID, we would present the best of our inmate authored plays in the prison chapel. And so that's a prison actor artist on the left with the umbrella. And that's one of our professional actor volunteers doing a scene with him in front of other inmates in the prison chapel.
Robbie, how did you get involved with this organization?
I am from Kentucky, and my family business is running a summer stock theater that we put on shows every summer at Pioneer Playhouse in Danville, Kentucky.
Outdoor?
And have you ever heard of that?
Well, is it outdoor?
It is outdoor. Yes. Pioneer Playhouse outdoor.
And is it one of those like the History of Kentucky type shows, or is it different musicals?
No, we do like 5 comedies, a summer. Actually, pre-COVID, we did 5. Then 2020, we did 1 show. And then last summer, we inched back to 3 shows. So we're kind of trying to determine. But so that's what I do. I was artistic director and am artistic director of Pioneer Playhouse. And I said, what can we do to do an outreach into our community to an underserved audience? And there was a prison 5 miles down the road. And so we decided to say, that's part of our community. We don't really go in there very much, but that's our community too, 5 miles down the road. So we decided to do that.
And have you seen changes in the participants?
Yes, I can't say that everybody is drastically going through a life change, but many have. We've had incarcerated writers and artists who come out and get their master's degrees in counseling.
Wow.
We've had people who've gone on to drug abuse counseling. We've had a few that have come out and gone to every spoken word mic in Louisville, and another's come out and started a theater company in Louisville. And, it's almost like you hope you kind of sow a seed like Johnny Appleseed, and who knows how it's going to go, but everybody loves putting on a show. And, many of these people in our program come from environments where they've never even seen a live play.
Wow.
And then, if they spend a couple of years in our program, it's like, they have the shorthand for the terminology and exit right, exit left, so it's, I feel like everybody is affected by a program that goes through it.
Robbie, I'm so glad that you came on tonight. Thank you so much. And congratulations on your work. My God, it is one of those things. If he had just said one person had become, counselor or something, my God, that's a huge success.
What's your website?
Yeah, what is your
website? Voicesinside.org. It'll come up, voicesinside.org.
So it's gonna.
And it's only in Kentucky.
Yes, it is. But our New York City play contest is open to incarcerated writers nationwide. So we're kind of trying to. This is the first year for it being that big, and we're really hoping it puts a stamp and becomes a prime opportunity for incarcerated writers across America.
Oh, fantastic.
Wow. All right, Robbie, thank you so much.
Well, Seth and James, it's really great. And thank you for promoting the Actors Fund and promoting the arts.
Oh, thank you, Robbie.
I'm going to be in touch with you.
All right, bye. Speaking of inspiring, Seth, our last guest could not have been more inspiring when I spoke to her right before the show. I'm so happy that she's here.
How's it go? Was it? Her name is Alora, right? You know,
From Kiss of the Spider Woman.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was
That's
trying
right.
to
So please welcome to Stars in the House, the Youth Poet Laureate of the Southern United States, Alora Young.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Wait, you look so young. Are you one of those people that's young, or are you like 50 and you still look really young? Which one?
I am 18.
Okay, you are young. I just want to make sure. You never know. You know, like I see people and like, anyway. Okay, I'm very glad. Okay, you're actually young. Wait, you're 18, so that means you're still in high school?
I am a freshman in college. This is my first semester of college.
Whoa, you loving it or hating it?
I'm absolutely loving it.
Brava.
Alora, how does one become a Youth Poet Laureate?
Yeah.
Well, I discovered the Youth Poet Laureate program through a slam poetry competition I participated in my freshman year of high school.
Okay.
So after I did that program, I figured out that the organization who ran the slam poetry competition, Southern Word, also had a Youth Poet Laureate competition. And after what I looked into what it stood for, like a person who wants to support the arts in Nashville, who's passionate about civic engagement, and who wants to serve their community through the arts, I was like, this is me. This is something I have to do. And it was a really amazing experience. And so I applied the application. I made it through the semifinals and I won Nashville.
But what do you have to do for it? Like apply, like what does it mean? You have to perform live or just submit poems? What do you have to do?
So you submit an application with both a document with poetry in it and a document with your work in civic engagement.
Right.
And so they look at your civic engagement, they look at your poetry, and then they have you perform live. And the scores for all of those three things get combined. And then whoever has the highest score at the end becomes the next Youth Poet Laureate.
How amazing was it when they called your name?
It was one of the best moments of my life.
Oh my gosh, so
It
exciting.
had to have been like an out-of-body experience. I can't imagine.
And how long, when they told you won, how long is your reign as
As
Miss
they would say.
America? No, as a poet laureate.
For Nashville, it was a year, and then I won the Southern United States, so that's another year. So January of 2021, I became the Youth Poet Laureate of the Southern United States. So my term will end next January.
So, and Laura, part of your work is with Americans for the Arts. Explain that as an ambassador. Explain what you've been doing with them.
So, as an ambassador for Americans for the Arts, I am trying to spread the good word of arts education in Tennessee and around the country. I know about Tennessee because I've spent my entire high school career like working to improve the humanities environment in Tennessee. Like I did a bunch of fundraisers with my theater department. I actually run a small nonprofit organization where I combine spoken word poetry and Black history as a tool for teaching students of color, elementary schoolers specifically, about their history through the arts. And I'm working on a research project that examines the practical applications of spoken word poetry as a tool for teaching students with learning disabilities.
Amazing.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yes, because I have dyslexia and ADHD, and spoken word poetry has helped me incredibly to develop as a writer and an individual. And I genuinely think that there is a scientific component to using spoken word poetry as a teaching tool, and I want to develop a pedagogical field.
Wait, I was going to say, our daughter who has dyslexia and ADHD learned so much better by listening. And then you literally said, that's what you're right. It's hilarious. It's so true. It's so much easier for her to take it in orally. Wow, that's so interesting. You got to get a grant to develop that.
I'm actually I've been working on a proposal with some professors from Vanderbilt, which is a college that's by my house, but now I'm looking for a new professor here in Swarthmore, which is where I go to college.
Fancy.
I've been writing this research paper for months now. I'm examining like the efficacy of spoken word poetry as a tool for political activism, like comparing traditional speech methods to using spoken word poems in place of speech. And also I've been examining my teaching strategies because with my kids who I work with my nonprofit at, I've done so much, like learned much research, and I've gained so much knowledge about how children learn, especially children with learning disabilities, and the insane benefits that spoken word has on those. And so basically, as a National Arts and Humanities Month ambassador, I'm just spreading the good word on my Instagram and my Twitter and all my social media. And I have an article out in the Tennessean, and I'm just doing everything I can to sing the praises of arts and humanities professionals and to bring light to all of the good that they're doing in the world.
Alora, how do people, are you on social media? Like, how can people follow you? Do you have your own website?
Yes, I have my own website, alorayoung.com.
Okay, so I'll do that. Okay.
Yes, I have a book coming out next August. Yes, it's called Walking Gentry Home. It's from Hogarth Books, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House. And I also have a movie coming out, I think next year, maybe 2023. But you can find the IMDb page for it. It's called The Requiem Boogie. So those are two important things you can be on the list.
Doing so many things, and you're 80? Is that what you said?
I'm 80.
Well, I've never heard more of a career before. Okay.
Maybe we just need to like give up on what we
I know. I've never.
Let's go eat popcorn and just like watch Netflix for the rest of our lives.
I'm mortified at my achievements.
I know it. Alora, you told me though right before yes, you love poetry, but you also love Broadway. Talk about that.
So much. I have been a Broadway baby since I've been a performer. I've been on the stage since I came out of the womb. Like, I write musicals. So, over all of my time, I've been like writing little plays, like one-act plays and musicals. And I recently wrote a full-length musical, and I'm writing another one right now. And I actually have listened to On Broadway for years. Like, me and my dad listened to On Broadway every morning on the way to school and every afternoon when he picked me up from school.
Which one do you enjoy more? The hack in the morning, Christine Petty, or the amazing host in the afternoon, Seth Rudetsky?
The amazing host in the afternoon.
Sorry, Christine. I was not trying to lead you. I was just asking a question. Oh, I love that. That's so sweet. Ah, that's so nice.
Alora, do you have you don't have to mention who are some of your favorites or who's I know, like what Broadway show, when was the last time you saw a Broadway show, or have you seen a Broadway show?
Oh my God, I've never heard more questions qualified.
I know, well, because I don't want to assume anything.
I actually opened for a performance of Hamilton when it toured in Nashville. I won a competition, and so I was able to perform an original number before the performance of Hamilton.
Oh, how cool.
And so that was crazy. Yeah. My favorite musical that I've seen, like I've seen live, that's a really hard one. I loved Waitress.
Wow.
I saw Les Mis, I saw Cats.
All the classics. All the classics.
Yeah. I think my favorite musical currently is either Come From Away or The Band's Visit. And my favorite Broadway person is Lindsay Mendez.
We love Lindsay. Oh my
God.
I know she's deserted us because she's doing TV right now. It's infuriating. But Alora, we're all very excited because, we're going to definitely support your campaign. We know that you're running apparently in 2024. So how do people donate to your presidential? What? Thank you.
Alora, you mentioned your book that's going to be coming out next summer, but you can give all of our viewers of Stars in the House a little preview with a live performance right now. Is
yes,
that right?
Please.
My book is called Walking Gentry Home, and it chronicles 270 years of my family history in a small town in West Tennessee, entirely in poetry.
Wow.
I love it. Okay, we're gonna take ourselves off. You're gonna be on screen, then we'll bring you on. We'll come back on after you're done. Okay.
Okay. So this poem is called Dying Town, and it goes like this. My mama played double dutch. My mama was a beauty queen. My mama was a prodigy. My mama couldn't sit at lunch counters. She was born in the year 1970. The thing about small towns is they get stuck in time. I'm not sure Halls made it past 59. We're in Lauderdale County this time. Small towns are like people who peak in high school. They never change because they're afraid of the fact they are dying. They just kick it in the 60s inside their own minds in the confines of the Frog Jump and Dyersburg lines. The stores never open, only close. And if a new one comes around, it's gone by first snows. I wonder if it's healthy to love a thing that's as good as dead. Dying towns are like time capsules. They are cobwebbed nostalgia for times you thought you would view fonder. But the truth is, my mama played double dutch. My mama was a beauty queen. My mama was a prodigy. And the town that raised her up is fading into history.
Yes.
I love that comparison to small towns being like people who peaked in high school. First of all, that's such an aware thing for you to know about, considering you were just in high school. I love that line. The line I didn't love is that your mother was born in 1970, because that makes me basically her grandfather. Anyway, we'll talk about that privately.
Alora, thank you so much. You are welcome back anytime, and you know that we'll have to try to see if Lindsay Mendez can come on.
Yeah, we'll see if Lindsay Mendez can do a surprise appearance. I'll tell you who I won't ask, Christine Petty, because you obviously prefer me over Christine Petty. But yeah, we'll see if Lindsay Mendez can make a surprise appearance.
All right, Alora Young, AloraYoung.com. Alora Young, the youth poet laureate of the Southern United States. And I know that you're going to love her musical, Seth, because she rhymes. Seth, one of his pet peeves are musicals where they're what, Seth?
Singulars and plurals that rhyme. I want to kill. Thank you.
I literally have both Finishing the Hat and Look, I Made a Hat by Stephen Sondheim on this shelf right now.
Thank you, as you should. Brava. Alora, you're so mature. We are so impressed by you. All right. It's so great meeting you.
This is a great National Arts and Humanities Month show. Thank you, Alora, and thank you to all of our guests. And we will be here tomorrow with our Halloween game night.
Yes, we'll be in touch, Alora. We're big fans.
Yes. All right. Night, Alora.
Good night.
What a great way to end. All right, Seth. So, what are you gonna play out?
I'll play Lindsay's song from Godspell.
That's what I was. There you go. In honor of Alora. All right.
Was it? Oh, bless the Lord, my soul.
Oh.
The vigor of our youth. Oh, bye-bye.
Thank you, Staging Concepts, and thank you, StreamYard, and everyone else.
Peace out.